Happy Friday. We are back, and I hope everybody had a good Labor Day weekend. Anyway, fall is coming, winter is coming, and I'm really excited to have Stephen with us today from American Weather Makers. And I gotta say, American Weather Makers, they are my go-to. They have gotten me out of trouble many a time. But we are really getting ready for the winter. So Stephen is here to help us understand why we need our HVAC tuned, what's going on with the furnace, and maybe even tell us some cool things that are coming down the pike. So
I hope I can help. So yes, thank you for having us on. So I appreciate the opportunity to go over and explain things for heating season coming up. It's hard to believe with 90s in the forecast this weekend that we even want to think about furnaces yet.
We do, but great question, I think, is why do we even need to do this? Why do we need to have you guys come out every year and poke around?
That's a great question. And a lot of times a furnace can be easily overlooked. And then when you finally realize that you have a problem, now it becomes an emergency. So I think the main reason to have a furnace clean and checked is just to avoid that, make it so that it's an emergency to get things taken care of for you. Plus, when we come out in the fall, the weather is still pretty mild. We have time to go through it. If something's needed, we have time to order it. It saves money in just that respect.
Right. And I think, like the furnace sits in our basement. It's not like our dishwasher that we're using every day. And if something doesn't look quite right, we're going to know about it right away. The furnace could be, Lord only knows what's happening down there.
Absolutely. And plus, it's easy to overlook too, because you've really been using that furnace all summer long in just making your air conditioning work. Now we're asking the furnace to really work full time with everything else it can do in heating your house, not just moving air for air conditioning.
Right. And we all know you don't want to have that below zero day when you're freezing to death.
That's right.
And then it's an emergency. It's going to cost more. It's not, they're not going to be able to come out as quickly.
And unfortunately, if you're a customer, you're not the only one calling with that same emergency. So we would rather take care of it when it's not urgent and make sure that everything's working fine. And plus, with the example of, let's say, an oil change for a car, your furnace and air conditioning works a lot harder than your car, and it just sits in your basement. Plus, it burns gas. So because it's a gas appliance, that's really another good necessity to have it looked at just for safety.
Yes. So what do you guys do down there in the basement?
Well, a typical clean and check, a technician arrives on site. They come in, welcome themselves, introduce themselves, and start off at your thermostat. Because your thermostat basically is mission control for that furnace, and that's all it knows what to do. So, we ask questions. When was the last time you changed the batteries? Have you updated the program? Do you have any questions about setting the clock? There was enough VCRs out there at one point that flashed 12. You don't want your thermostat doing the same thing.
Right.
And then when we head down to the basement, we basically see that it's operational, that it actually started up properly. Then we'll sort of dig into it, shut off the power, open things up, and start disconnecting parts to clean them, check them. Once that's all complete, we can vacuum up the unit and then start it back up and start testing the safeties and overall operation.
Wow, that's great. And you clean all the parts so that they don't, I'm assuming like the motor could, if it has to work harder, if it's dirty, that would.
Absolutely. And really any dirt that got by your filter, and the filter is another good point. We're checking that filter. That's easy to overlook until there's a problem as well. But any dirt that didn't stop at the furnace filter, the next stop is the blower wheel. So we're checking that, vacuuming it off, cleaning it off. It's only really in extreme situations that we have to really pull that whole blower assembly out to clean the wheel properly. Most times with preventative maintenance, you won't have that extra expense.
And another thing I just want to mention, when we do home inspections, I often will tell my buyer if they're concerned about their HVAC, because the person that's coming to do the inspection is not an HVAC certified technician. So they can always call and have somebody come out from American Weather Makers. And, it's worth a couple of $100 or whatever you would charge for that versus finding out that, the day you close, you need a whole new furnace.
And we have responded to so many of those emergency last-minute closing calls because the home inspector made maybe some wild accusations about the furnace, and we come out and we can really certify that everything is working properly. Or if they were kind of on base, we can let you know the real root of the problem, and then you as the homeowner, before you have to go into the closing, can decide how far you want to take it, or if it's something that you're going to credit back to the new owners.
That's right. So it's good to know that you're there so that, and it just puts everybody at ease. We all want to know just what is the real situation, and you guys can help us with that.
Yep.
So what is new and fun? Anything exciting coming along
Well, there's a couple things, and I've been attending some other industry meetings recently. One big thing to be aware of is coming up in 2025. There's going to be a refrigerant change. We went from R22 Freon, which pretty much everyone knew, to a newer type of refrigerant, which is 410A or Puron. There's a new one coming, and because they want it more environmentally friendly. But the new type of refrigerant, and they're still trying to work out the kinks in it, either it's going to be R454B or R32, both of which are similar to what R410A is right now, but it will have some changes that will affect everybody.
So when you say that, what do you mean?
Well, new air conditioning systems probably after year 2026 will take a totally different refrigerant than they're taking now. And that will require different equipment, different evaporators. If you have it in your house now, there's no concern. But going forward, let's say when we start to get a year or two out, it may become that let's decide to make a couple extra repairs so that what you're putting in will last the life of you being in that home.
That's a really good point. Interesting, because that happened to me in my car.
Oh, sure.
So Honda changed the refrigerant and my local repair shop couldn't fix my air conditioning because they did not have the equipment. So I had to go to Honda to get it repaired. I'm assuming eventually it'll but they changed what they're using.
And there'll definitely be some bumps in the road. We've seen government agencies make this claim before about changes, but this was already enacted. It's going to happen regardless of how any of us feel about it.
Okay.
So,
what happens what would happen if you have an air conditioner, the old kind? Is there going to be like a period of 10 years or something where you can get both refrigerants so that?
There would be, just like they were phasing out R22, there'll be a phase out of R410A. And I think that you're very safe if you install the new air conditioning system this year or next year. We'll have enough refrigerant to get us through at least what we consider the lifespan of the new air conditioner.
Okay, that's important to know. What about efficiency? They always talk about high efficiency furnaces.
Well, and that's a good point. A lot of the real old furnaces still would vent into a chimney. Any newer furnace, when we start talking about high efficiency, we would have to look at a different venting. And the main reason is when it becomes something considered high efficiency, instead of being 80% efficient, which usually could vent into your chimney, anything over 90% needs to vent and through white PVC or PVC product out the side of your house. The reason is they're squeezing more of that heat and putting it in your home versus sending it up the chimney. And once the flue gases become below 140 degrees, they're very acidic. The water that is a natural part of burning natural gas can be very acidic, and that's why we can vent it out the side of your house without any concern about the PVC melting or anything else. But PVC won't react to that acidity, and we can manage the water and send it down the drain.
Okay, so anything people would be putting in their homes today, well, maybe not necessarily because they don't have the vent outside.
The government in 2007 or 2008 tried to sort of get rid of 80% furnaces. And there was a lot of pushback from the industry, especially customers who lived in condos.
Right.
There's no real good way to revent these without the side of the building becoming a big cloud of white smoke all winter long because of new higher efficiency furnaces. So we've stalled that to this point, but that brings a good point in where the industry is trying to go. The other topic I was going to talk about is there's going to start to be a lot of talk about the electrification of America, which means you've seen solar panels on more people's houses, wind generated, nuclear. They feel that this is has less carbon emissions. So what they're trying to do is get to a renewable source, but in that same thinking, they want to look at other methods to heat your house with electricity that's more energy efficient. One method that they have is called a heat pump. A heat pump is basically an air conditioner that runs reverse for the winter time, puts heat that's basically outside in the air, and then it rejects that heat in the house to help heat your house. And a heat pump is between, let's say, a high efficiency furnace that I think its maximum efficiency can be 98%. A heat pump in comparison, because of for every dollar you put into electricity, it can almost give you 200 or a 200% return on that for heat. So the equivalent of a heat pump in a furnace would be 200% efficient for every dollar you spent for the energy to run it.
Wow.
But they'll want to do that, and they'll get people further and further away from fossil fuel or burning natural gas in their house to heat it. The other thing that's really come in strong in the last 5 years is Mitsubishi has a product called a Ductless Air Conditioner, and it also heats homes. So what you'll find is individual rooms will have head units, or this is a spot where it actually creates cold air or hot air, but there'll be no ductwork attached to it. Because there's no ductwork, it's very efficient, and plus you have no loss from, let's say, a duct system that has holes and has bends and has to get air to a given room.
So how does it get in there?
Well, we would pipe it with refrigerant piping to the wall, and then from there you'd use basically a remote control to heat and cool that individual room.
So could people use something like this? There's so many houses where this room does not get cold, and this.
I'll tell you, master bedroom, and usually that room above the garage that everyone complains about, saying this is always so cold in the winter, so hot in the summer. This has become an excellent solution for them both, and we can mount the Mitsubishi unit in there, and it can then heat better in the summer, or heat better in the winter, and cool better in the summer, and it'll just focus on that room.
Wow. And how much, just how much does something like that?
I
mean, is it thousands?
Yeah, you're probably looking at about a $4,500 investment.
Okay.
But I think it would go a long way to make that room more usable, where maybe you tried to avoid it before because it was never comfortable.
Right. And if you're going to be in your home a long time, and some people, like, I have a room like that, but nobody's ever in there, so it doesn't. But yeah. Hey, I looked at something to put in my house, was like a water purifier, hot water, and all this, and it was $5,000 plus installation. So $4,500 for something like that is,
and they are becoming more and more advanced. I think in the future we'll find that same technology will be used to replace potentially a furnace, and that you'll have an air handler down in the basement. That air handler is talking to the Mitsubishi unit outside, and it's giving you heat and cooling. Then you have some sort of source of backup heat when it gets real cold.
That is so cool. That is so cool. I'm so glad you brought that up. You think we're just talking about heating and air conditioning, but it's getting very high tech, and it's getting very interesting, and it's something for us all to look forward to and keep our eye out for the future. Well, Steve, thank you, Stephen. And before you know it, it'll be air conditioning season. So we will have you back in the spring, and we'll talk about what's going on with new and air conditionings and what we should look for there. So thank you so much.
Can I just give one more plug? And if anyone needs to get a hold of us, we're American Weather Makers. Our phone number is 847-509-7777.
And you know what? Everybody, they just call me, text me. I will send you right there, because they are I mean, I cannot speak highly enough of them. They have saved me on many occasions. So.
And going to the whole point of what we're talking about, I've tried to make it very easy for customers to come just to our website to schedule maintenance. They don't even have to talk to a rep. They can do it 24/7 and get dates that it's convenient for them, so they don't have to feel like they have to call us during normal business hours.
Oh, that's great. And you know, the thing too is, I personally have built such a trust over the years, and that's why I'm so excited you were on, because, you know, I just know if I refer you guys, there's going to be no problem. And so I just wanted to say that as well. So.
And we definitely always try to build that relationship with everyone that we service.
Yes, thank you. You guys are awesome.
All right.
Well, thanks again, Stephen. We will see you in the spring. Have a great weekend.
Sounds good.
Thanks.